We're going to start this thing right now. Hi, I'm Jim Greiner. I'm the Herkimer County historian, and I want to tell you a little bit about this book that was published, late last year.
Yes.
Okay, Murder and Mayhem in Herkimer County. This wasn't my idea. This idea came from Carol Hobson. All right, and of course, she got the idea by just going to bookstores. Like Barnes and Noble. If you go in the local history sections there, they've got these books now that are very popular all over the state. Murder and Mayhem, Ghost Hunters here, Ghost Hunters there, things like that. So we decided to do one of our own. In this book, we had over 35 stories and over 20 authors wanted to get involved in this. We had retired people. We had a student from Herkimer County Community College who was an intern here, and she really got into it. She did a story. So this is what we did. Now, don't worry. We included a lot of fan favorites in this book. Oh, yeah, there's Chester Gillette. Don't worry about him. We couldn't do a story of this nature without him. And we're lucky to have Jack Sherman write this one. Even Craig Brandon, the late Craig Brandon, who wrote Murder in the Adirondacks, claimed that Jack probably was the foremost expert on Chester. So we were very grateful to have him. And although I did the book on Roxelana Drutz, I set it aside and I said, we wanted to pay homage to the man who first did the serious work on it. And this was a guy by the name of Dick Case. His master's thesis in the Cooperstown graduate program was on Drutz. And so that's helped me write my book. So he did that one. Then we've got some ones that you've never really heard of. John Bauman. It was written by a professor at the college, Jeffrey Steele. How about this? A 12-year-old boy on trial for murder in Herkimer County. Fascinating. And of course, the one that I tell people, it'll make the hair stand up in the back of your neck. Donna Rubin did a story on John Henry House. It was called A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Look, folks, this guy probably was our first serial murderer. He killed 3 wives, and he was working on the 4th when they finally caught him. So it's a pretty scary tale, okay? So what did I do? Well, I concentrated on the 1930s. I had just finished a book about a murder in Albany in the 1930s, so I was familiar with that time period, and I said, well, I want to stick to it. So my stories centered around murders that occurred during that time period. And some of them have ties to, well, bootlegging crimes in Utica, okay? So we'll get started here with the first one, the Brewer Mystery, okay? Here's your cast of characters here. We've got the victim here, and Sheriff Leo Lawrence, and Dr. James Graves, the coroner. I mean, look, with a name like Graves, you know, you had to be a coroner or an undertaker. It's just perfect, okay? Well, here's what we have here, okay? The date here is New Year's Day, 1931, and a new sheriff is taking over. It's Leo Lawrence, okay? Now, one of the reasons I write books and do research, I'm going to learn new things. And I learned a lot here, okay? Leo Lawrence had absolutely no criminal experience whatsoever, but you didn't need it in those days, okay? The sheriff's position in Herkimer County in those days was purely political. It was a one-term, it's okay, leave it right there. Okay, it was a one-term position. You couldn't succeed yourself, because it was a political stepping stone. You went to something else. Most of the last couple of sheriffs, when they're done with their term, they either ran for Congress or they ran for the Assembly. And Leo Lawrence is no exception. He'll run for the Assembly and stay there many, many years. Well, here's what happens. He doesn't even have his bags unpacked when he moves into the sheriff's building, the jail where he would live, when all of a sudden he gets a phone call that there's a body on the railroad tracks west of Frankfort. So he does the right thing. He calls up the coroner, Dr. Graves, and another person he called was H. Paul Draham. Now, H. Paul Draham was a Herkimer man, but he worked for the Utica newspapers as a photographer. And on the side, But he was also the police photographer. So he took pictures of crime scenes. And we were very lucky at the County Historical Society to inherit his entire collection of photographs. And here you have Leo Lawrence and Dr. Graves looking at the body of Frederick Brewer. Okay. Brewer, of course, no one knew him. He was from Utica. You know, Lawrence and these guys didn't know him. So they did a little research to find out what had happened. Okay. They found out that he was, 35 years old. He lived in Utica with his mother at 117 Clinton Place. Now, Dr. Graves, when he first saw the body, so getting back to this, Dr. Graves at first thought, his first guess was, the guy fell from a train. I mean, you're right next to the tracks. So, but he wasn't going to know for sure until he got the body back to Herkimer for a proper autopsy. Well, meanwhile, Leo Lawrence and a few of the Utica police went right to the train station and asked if they knew who this Frederick Brewer was, and did he get a ticket for a train? Well, the ticket master said, I recognize him immediately. He was sitting right over in this one part here with a woman, but he didn't buy a ticket for the train. She did. Well, they did a little research and found out that this mysterious woman was his cousin. Had nothing to do with it. So how did he wind up here? A cab driver came forward and said, yeah, he dropped him off. And just casually mentioned, it's kind of a cold day out, and you're not really dressed for the warm weather. And Brewer said, no, I'm okay. Well, still, it looked like maybe an accident until Dr. Graves came through with the autopsy report. He had a punctured lung, blunt force trauma to the back of the skull. It wasn't an accident. This wasn't suicide. This was looking more and more like a murder. Once this hit the Utica papers, the Utica police were flooded with phone calls. At least 100 calls came in, asking questions about Brewer and what they knew about him. Okay? Now, again, it led to nowhere. The police investigated Brewer and found out that, look, the guy was well liked. He had no enemies. He didn't have a police record. In fact, he was very active in the community. All right. Utica Elks. He was very big in the Elks there. He was active in his alumni association at Colgate University. His job, believe it or not, he worked for the National City Company out of New York City. He was a bond salesman. And folks, in 1931, as a bond salesman during the Great Depression, that's
what do you want?
A difficult job. Okay, so the more they studied Brewer, the deeper the mystery got. I mean, they were having more questions and absolutely no answers. For instance, why did he cancel his post office box in Utica that week? Usually, if you cancel a post office box, you're going to move. That wasn't happening. At the same time, for some unknown reason, he suddenly quit his job. No explanation. He contacted the National City Company in New York City, said he's done. And on the very last day of his life, he canceled a $10,000 life insurance policy. Okay? There you go. No one knows to this day. The Brewer mystery, like I said, is a mystery. It's one of the oldest cold case files we have in Herkimer County. And we've learned nothing since 1931. Okay? Allured to the death of Mulkoon affair. Okay, we've got a cast of characters here. We could make a movie out of it. All right. Now, you've got to remember one little bit of trivia, folks. There was very much of a lawless decade in the city of Utica. Between 1924 and 1934, Utica had about a dozen unsolved homicides. They're all Prohibition-related murders. To give you an example, in a 6-month time span, there were 6 deaths, and they were all unsolved. Okay, so here we have the Mulkoons. All right, now this is a crime family. Louis Mulkoon, Sadie Mulkoon's wife, and Rocco. This is a crime family, and they are in, of all places, Little Falls, New York. They're immigrants, but the press sort of used stereotypes here, which is unfortunate. Okay, they were dark-skinned, and immediately, since they were involved in crimes, they were said to be Italians. Well, do your homework. They weren't Italians. They didn't come from that end of the Mediterranean. They came from Syria, the Lebanon area. Look up the Ellis Island records. That's what I did, and that's where they're from. Well, they located to Little Falls and on the south side on Flint Ave, Little Falls, as a matter of fact. And here they ran a grocery store, and they had the best prices in town because most of the stuff they were selling was stolen. Yeah, Louis Mulkoon and Rocco had other people robbing for them, robbing trains for grocery and things like this, and bringing it to the store and selling it right there. Now, both Louis and Rocco were arrested, brought to the Herkimer County Jail, but don't worry, Mama bailed them out. Sadie Mulkoon bailed her husband and son out. And look, folks, she's no saint either. They arrested her for bootleg booze in Flint Ave. Okay? Well, by the mid-1920s, okay, things were getting, well, they'd run out their welcome at Little Falls. Okay? And they decided to up stakes and move, okay? Oh, by incidentally, this is Sheriff Leo Lawrence here. We got that slide mixed up, but we want to show him all business. Here he is, okay? All right, there they are. So in the Utica City Directory, we find Louis Mulkoon's wife in Utica on Elizabeth Street. Little mistake here. Louis was a chauffeur, but he also had a grocery store. Rocco was a driver, and a notorious one at that. The problem with the Mulkoon boys, the father and son team is here, they couldn't stay out of the newspaper. Louis made a false report that his house had been robbed, and the Utica police were a little suspect on this. And Rocco had a driving record that was terrible. He was always in accidents. So, and unlike other people in, well, that line of work, you want to really stay out of the press. Okay, so here's what we have here. In September of 1930, September 25th to be exact, Louis Mulkoon decided to branch out and go pretty much big time. He'd been selling alcohol for the longest time, but now he wanted to start his own business. He still had his contacts from Little Falls, who would be his middlemen, because he wanted to branch out into the Amsterdam area, and using the guys from Little Falls would help. So on September 25th, early in the afternoon, he called his Little Falls contacts to his Elizabeth Street address and laid out a great plan. He needed $500, which I'll tell you, in this time period, $500 was still a lot of money. For $500, he said, he had a contact where he could buy $2,500 of still making, stills and vats and things of this nature to get them going in business. Well, $500 to get $2,500, it does seem too good to be true. But his contacts in Little Falls were encouraged. We can't let a deal like this go by. So everyone's pooling their money together so we can get this $500. And while Rocco was pacing the floor, waiting for a phone call, Louis assures his Little Falls people, look, I'll be in touch with you. I'll let you know what's going on. And they leave. Eventually the phone rings and Louis and Rocco get the call to meet these people to get this deal done. They leave and you don't hear anything else, right? Well, guess what? You're going to find out pretty soon, all right? On Coop Hill, in Frankfort, on Jones Road, a farmer, okay, heard multiple gunshots in the middle of the night. And this guy did the right thing. He did what I would have done. He turned off all the lights in his house and he shut the door and locked it until the next day. Next day, he goes out to inspect and find out what was happening down the road from this farmhouse, right? Well, that's what we want to see right here. Well, that's what discovered a grisly scene, all right? Rocco, or Louis Mulkoon, that's him up on the bank there, you can see him, was shot several times with a .45 caliber pistol. The man died in agony. Underneath his fingernails were dirt and grass where he was gripping the ground in pain. In the foreground here was his son, Louis. Louis got it the worst. Not only did was hit several times in the chest, A shotgun blast almost took its head off. It was a grisly scene. The Utica paper called it the epitome of bootleg vengeance. In Rocco's wallet, $249, and his hand was a diamond ring. It wasn't a robbery. People in Utica were sending out a message: stay out of this line of work. Judge Graves did the autopsy. The sheriff's department got there. It wasn't Lawrence, by the way. Lawrence was running for office, and he was almost the one who was going to be in. Louis Mulkoon said that he had police protection in Herkimer, so he didn't have to worry about anything happening to these people. It was just another foolhardy claim. All right. Now here you see here, and again, this is from H. Paul Graham's pictures. The two wicker baskets in the foreground are the two bodies, and you can see the crowd to the mass, and the farmhouse is in the distance. This was on Jones Road. Now, you have to remember, at this time period, and well on into, well, my generation too, when there was lawlessness in this area, the area between Frankfort and Utica was like a no man's land. Even when I came back to Herkimer, there were bodies that were dumped on Mucky Run Road that were organized crime related, right? All right. The father and the son were together all the time in their bootlegging business, and here they are together for eternity at the Calvary Cemetery in Utica, New York. What impressed me the most was this was sort of a nice big stone, and what kind of family would have this money to do this? Well, they must have had some. Same day that the bodies had been discovered on the Jones Road on Coop Hill of the Mulkoons, right, the Utica police paid a visit to Paolo Basile. Okay. Look, at first, Basile denied knowing the Mulkoons. All right. And then he changed his mind. He said, oh, he knew the Mulkoons. They talked too much. No one trusted them. He told the story that the Mulkoons were really planning to rat out all the stills in the Herkimer and Oneida area unless they received money from, the other bootleggers, like an extortion thing. Well, the Utica police didn't believe this one bit, and we're almost waiting for something else to happen, and they wouldn't have to wait for long. Okay, now who was this guy? Basile was from Italy. Okay, he was married with one child, but he came to America alone. He left his wife and kid in Italy. So he was a tinsmith by trade, but a still maker by choice. This was the go-to guy when you wanted to make a still. All right. So on the night of November 22nd, 1930, okay, he's living with his nephew on Blandina Street, and he tells his nephew, I'm getting a phone call here. I'm going to go be out for a little while. And he's going to go down to his usual haunt, what was the Venezia coffee shop. Well, it wasn't a coffee shop at all. It was a speakeasy. So he's there playing cards with his friends, drinking wine, and he receives the phone call he's waiting for. And the two other men in the establishment clearly heard him say, goodbye and all this, and yes, here and there. He hung the phone up and said, I must leave to attend to some business. Let's see you later. Well, he got in his car and drove away, and you're never going to see the guy again. Well, the next day, his nephew goes to the coffee shop and says, where'd he go? I mean, he didn't come home. No one knew. So they walked around the side streets of Utica, and they found his automobile right there, abandoned, the keys in the ignition, and that was it. Right? The police investigated. It was a missing persons case, and once again, you're not going to get any good leads here to follow up on. Right? There were more rumors than facts. One of the rumors was he went to Buffalo. Well, that's plausible. Buffalo had a crime family out there. Buffalo was heavy into bootleg alcohol. That's a possibility. Well, another one was, hey, he just went back to Italy. Well, they checked all the passage records from ships, and no one matched his description was on a ship. But then a few little details came out through the Utica streets that made the police suspicious. One of them was that a grocer was swearing out a civil suit against Basile and the Mulkoons for $1,000 that they owed in sugar that they had bought, naturally for the still. So that sort of piqued everyone's curiosity, but there's no leads. So here you are, November 22nd, 1930. Okay. Well, now things change. All right. On April 14th, Michael Paolo was walking along the banks of the Barge Canal. You know, April, it's the thaw, the ice is gone, and he notices something floating in the canal. At first, he thought it was, driftwood, but as he took a closer look, he then went and contacted the local authorities, Sheriff's Department, and Dr. Graves, and again, H. Paul Graham all showed up for this. They dragged the body out of the water. Some of the onlookers, and again, they didn't have any police ropes in those days, people who showed up and watched these things, thought at first that, well, the poor guy was probably fell off a boat or something like that, and the big gash in his head was due to a propeller blade. Dr. Graves didn't have to have an autopsy to figure this out. The man had a sash cord wrapped around his neck. He was strangled, and he had a meat-sized wound in the back of his head. This guy was clearly murdered. But here's the best part. He was strangled with a sash cord. A month earlier, on February 8th, the body of Philip Basile was discovered near the eastern entrance of Proctor Park. And guess what? He was strangled with a sash cord, the exact same kind used in this murder. Well, again, it's unsolved. With no witnesses coming forward, that meant no arrests, no grand jury, and another cold case file. But this is the last time in a long time, for a long time, that any bodies came to Herkimer County that were tied to organized crime. Okay? So there you have a little bit of murder and mayhem right here in Herkimer County. Okay? So
before we go to Q&A, I just want to say if you're interested in joining the Herkimer County Historical Society, you can go to our site and fill out the membership form, and our website is www.herkimercountyhistory.org. And our next program, and hopefully I'll have it more under control, will be on October 15th. Join us at 6:30, The Lost Colony of Roanoke, and it'll be given by Sheriff Pula.
So on behalf of the Herkimer County Historical Society and our director, Sue, here, I want to say thank you and good night.